Hello. Welcome to the Aisha I Am Woman show where needed conversations happen. I am your host, Aisha, and I am so thankful. I'm so delighted. I'm so excited to have you here with me today. Today, we're going to be talking about something that is, very important in our lives. And the topic, let me tell you something. I have struggled with this for years. And I want to wait to make sure anybody comes on. You guys, thank you for coming to share with me on our first show back since a couple of weeks. I've been off a couple of weeks, but we are back live right here on Facebook and on YouTube. I want to tell my audience, my cousin, to come on over here, my people who will come and share with me on the Aisha I Am Woman show, where we're doing things a little bit different for me because, I like to do things a little bit different. And so like to be a little bit unique. And so let me tell you something. Tonight we're talking about, are you a disgrace? Are you a disgrace? A disgrace. Do you know what being a disgrace is? Pride. Let me tell you something. Pride is a stench in the nostrils of God. Pride. Let me tell you something. It is a killer. It is one of the things that God hates the most. He hates pride. And so when we want to be a disgrace to God, when we want to be a disgrace to humanity, just be prideful. Just be full of pride. And like I said, this is something that I will be truthful and honest with you to tell you that I have struggled with. Sometimes I have gotten the big head and I have gotten in a place where I think that I am better or have thought that I have been better than other people or even been wrong to other people. But you know what I've learned over time? That humility will get me in a lot more doors than will pride. And so we're going to be talking about a few things tonight from the scriptures. One of the things we're going to be talking about is Proverbs chapter 11, verse 10. Okay. We want to not be prideful, not be in a place where we are prideful. That means being full of pride. And we're talking from Proverbs 11, verse 2. Proverbs 11, verse 2. Let me tell you something, what they don't tell you after 40 is that sometimes you need your glasses to see up close, and then other times you need them to see far away. So sometimes I can't see. Now, all the time, if I don't have my glasses on, I can't see at all. So I'm going to take my glasses off so I can read the scriptures because it's very small in here. So while I take off my glasses, it says, when pride comes, then comes a disgrace. You are a disgrace. When pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with humility is wisdom. So if you want to be wise, be humble. Be humble. And one of the things that I said, that the worst prayer to pray is ask God to humble you, because we do not know how humility will look if God has to humble you. Oh my God, let me tell you something. That is one of the worst prayers to pray. God, humble me. Humility looks totally different if you say, God, humble me, because you don't know what God needs to do in your heart. You don't know the measure that needs to be done in order for you to get to where you need to be. Now, the Bible says in James 4 and 10, in James chapter 4 and 10, let me read it again for you guys. 4 and 10. Okay. We're reading James chapter 4 and 10. It says, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, and in due season. Is anybody waiting on their due season? Your due season will come when you humble yourself. Humble yourself. The Bible gives us a very clear direction, a very, very, very clear thing that we should be doing. Humble yourself. Do you stench? Do you have a stench that comes from you with pride when you are being thinking you are more than you are? When you're thinking that you don't stink, your stuff don't stink, or you are being something that God has not designed you to be. And that's being a person that's full of pride. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Thank you so much for listening. And this is what I want to tell you. Do you stench? Are you a disgrace? Are you a disgrace? Ask yourself that. Are you a disgrace before God? Ask yourself that every day. Lord, am I disgracing you by my attitude? Am I doing things the wrong way by the way I look at things? Am I doing things the wrong way? The way I treat people, how I treat wait staff. If you go into a restaurant with a person and they don't treat the wait staff well, that is a good sign that they don't have a good heart, that the heart of them is not in the right place. I have been a person that has done that. Let me tell you something. Let me tell y'all a story. So one time, went to this restaurant chain, and I was such a person that had this attitude, not of gratitude, but an attitude that was like stink, like, ugh, who would want to be around her? So I was treating this young lady. I was changing my order, telling her, you don't have this right. You need to do this and you need to do that. And I don't like this and I don't like that. Not that you can't do that, but the way in which I was saying it, talking down to her in a way, by the time it was time for us to get our food, we had a new wait person to come to our table, and we were looking around like, well, what happened to the other lady? They say the lady quit. She quit in the middle of her shift. Why did she quit in the middle of her shift? Because of the way I was treating the lady. And now she may have been having a bad day already, but the way I was treating her, it was not nice. Oh my God, it was not nice. And when I tell you, God has done a work in my heart to help me to not be a disgrace to him and help me. And I still have a long way to go. I still have a long way to go. And this is my truth and my honesty. And the thing about it is, you cannot correct anything that you won't face. You cannot correct anything that you don't honestly look at yourself and say, you know what? You're wrong, sweet girl. Or you have people in your life who can help you and tell you that you're wrong. You're wrong, baby. You're wrong and you're out of order. If nobody can correct you, you are doomed. If nobody can tell you and come into your life and say, you know what? You're wrong for that. You are wrong for that. And so I want to be a person to encourage you, encourage other people to say, don't be a disgrace. Don't be a disgrace. Don't be full of pride. And you can be confident in the Lord. We can be confident and know that he's going to see us through. And I read Glorify. That's a great app to get. Every morning I do Glorify. 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 Download that app today. Get it. And let me tell you something. It is such an encouragement, such a boost to your Bible study. If you don't do Bible study every day, that's something that you can do and can read it out loud. And we talked about being truth and realizing that God is our strength and he is our guide, and it brings correction to my soul, because that is sometimes what we need: correction in our soul, correction in my heart, correction in my soul. I always talk about my mom. I talk about Mama T. I talk about her often. And I talk about how she always used to tell me I'm a discontented woman. Oh my God. And I didn't know that. I didn't understand what she was saying until later in life, and things started happening in my life. And I started to realize, oh man, you really are a discontented woman. You need to get this together. So the Aisha I Am Woman show, let me just recap what our show focuses on. We focus on empowering women, equipping women, and enlightening women, equipping women with resources for behavioral and emotional health with a special focus on the effects of childhood trauma on adult behavior. Because I learned that from my own personal experience. The way I have operated has oftentimes been an extent of the childhood trauma that I faced when I was a young girl with the loss of my mom and my sister. Those things affected how I made adult decisions. And so when I started to make adult decisions, I realized later in life, that I was making decisions out of a child's mind. And sometimes you get stuck at the age of your trauma. You get stuck at the age of where you were when the tragedy happened. So I was 9 years old when I lost my mom and my sister tragically. And so my mind sometimes made and processed things as a 9 year old. Sometimes even I got born again as the 18-year old. Sometimes even at 40 something years old, I was acting like an 18-year old. And sometimes I had to be corrected about that. And even to this day, I still have the issue of being able to be corrected. But Lord have mercy, let me tell you something. I am so willing to come to the table and be corrected about it. I am so willing and so eager to learn, to say, humble myself. James 4:10, humble myself under the mighty hand of God. And in his due season, in his timing, he's going to make a change. He will make a change in my life. And I've gone through some experiences. I've learned some things, which has totally said, oh, baby girl, get it together. Humble yourself. Don't be a stench in the nostrils of God. Don't be a disgrace to God. Don't be a disgrace to yourself. Okay, with humility comes wisdom. If we want wisdom, if we want to know how to apply the knowledge that we know, get some wisdom and get some humility. What does humility look like? It looks like backing away, realizing I don't know everything, realizing that I don't have it all together. That's what humility looks like. Humility says, you know what? There are some people that know better than me. So let me listen to them. They know better than me. So let me be quiet. Aisha, shut it down. Just be quiet. Oh my God. Just be quiet. And I've had to learn that. And sometimes I've had to learn it the hard way. Learn to just be quiet. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, DJ Red. Experience is the best teacher. It really, really, really is the best teacher. And so we can go through an experience and say, ooh, and make ourselves turn around and say, I ain't gonna go down that road no more. I'm not gonna go down that road no more. A spanking is a good way for us to get in order. That's what our parents used to do with us. And that's the way we crucify what we call the flesh. Good evening. Hey, DJ Red. Good evening. And so humility is the thing about getting in the right place that we need to be. Humble ourselves. Say, you know what? If I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. If I am the smartest person in the room, I need to change rooms. I have to change rooms because somebody else out there knows more than me. And there's somebody else out there that I need to learn from, that I can gather from, that I can say, okay, teach me something. And if you're not in a place of ever learning, you are still in the wrong place. Be in a place of humility, of ever learning, of saying, okay, let me try to get this together, ever improving, empowering yourself, empowering, equipping, and enlightening. And I'm a big proponent of therapy and counseling. Let me tell you something. I'm not ashamed of that. Go get therapy. Go get some counseling. Go get with a professional. Okay. Our girlfriends and, the guy, homeboys, they may know a lot of stuff, but there are some things that a professional can tell you that sometimes can correct you in a way that you didn't even think about, or they didn't even think about, or they sometimes have the wrong tone in telling you it, right? Shop around for a therapist. If you don't have one in your life, there is a good thing to have somebody just to run something by. And that also helps to humble you to say, oh man, I ain't think about that. Nobody told me that. Nobody told me that I actually should not have a smart mouth all the time. That I should actually just and not and my mom would always tell me, don't just let your mouth be quiet. Let your spirit be quiet. Lord, that is the hardest thing for me. That was the hardest thing for me. To let my spirit shut up. Oh my gosh. That was a hard thing for me. And it had been a hard thing for me, but I thank God that He has helped me just to shush. Let my spirit be still and quiet. That is a practice. That is a learned skill to let your spirit be quiet and be still. Learn to study to be still. Study to be quiet. Not just with your mouth, but let your spirit shut it down. So, yes, let your spirit be quiet. Sit still, still, quiet waters. Let your spirit recognize and walk beside the still, quiet waters of life. You will find so much more peace, so much more life. Oh my gosh. I've found some things in my life and some people that I'm grateful that relationships have been renewed. I'm so grateful that some relationships have been renewed because I learned to shut it up. So I don't want to be a disgrace before God, and I don't want you to be a disgrace. I want you to be full of life and have life more abundantly. That's God's design for your life. That is His design for your life. Believe that. Trust that. He has a plan. He has a reason for your being here. But you can't get to the life more abundantly if your heart is not humble. Because there are 7 things that God hates. And one of the main things is being prideful. And I had to learn that. Humble yourself. It's your job. It is your responsibility. It is an inside job to humble yourself under the mighty hand of God. And in due season, in due time, He will lift you up. In due time, if you're waiting on your due season may be delayed just because you're not humble, just because you won't be quiet, just because you won't let your spirit hush, just because you won't do it. So your responsibility to this week is find a place, is do something. Sometimes you don't even have to do anything. Sometimes you just need to, I'm just going to let that pass. I am not going to be offended. I'm not going to be driving down the road and let the car who jumped in front of me take me out of the glory, take me out of my reasoning. I'm not going to allow that to happen. And those are good tests. When we're driving down the road and somebody cuts us off, how in the world are we responding? How are we responding when that happens? That's a good test. And sometimes God tests us. Let me tell you something. Something happened just right even before I came on this live tonight. I was having a conversation with somebody. And let me tell you something. My motivation was zapped up just like that. Just gone away because I had the conversation. But I had to realize that was the enemy. That was the enemy of my soul who wanted me to stop and not do this broadcast, who wanted me to shut my mouth and not deliver this message, who wanted me to not give you what it is that I believe God has given me. And to tell other people and tell my own self, don't be a disgrace. Don't be that. And to humble yourself. Let it be your responsibility to humble yourself. Take yourself out of it and be humble. So I'm grateful for you guys coming on. I'm grateful for you listening to me. I will not be taking up a lot of your time. Maybe 30 minutes on a Sunday evening. This is the place where we meet every Sunday evening, right here on YouTube and on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. and we've got to do those things. And I'm grateful for your coming on, listening, and hearing in. Just say thank you, DJ Red. Let me tell you something. I used to say, find your peace and protect it at all costs. If anything that costs you your peace is way too expensive, it is way too expensive. It costs too much. So if you're not bringing peace in my life, I gotta go and you gotta go. Right? So that's that. I'm so thankful for your coming on, for your listening to what I have to say. Drench yourself in God's glory. Drench yourself in humility. Humble yourself under the mighty hand of God and wait for your due season. Be in the position where you have a due season. And as I said, just before I came on this broadcast tonight, had this conversation, and I almost was like, you know what? I don't even want to do this. But God said, go ahead, daughter. Deliver the message. So here we are. We're going to protect our peace. We're going to drench ourselves in humility, humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God, and we will not stink in the nostrils of God because we will not have a prideful way. We will not be prideful. We will be humble and understand that this is God's way. I thank you so much for joining me. We want to join here right on Facebook Live and on YouTube right here next week, Sunday. And this is Happy Memorial Day weekend. I want to wish everybody a very happy weekend. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful time. I have so many things I would love to say to you guys. But we have so much more to do in what we're going to do on the Aisha I Am Woman show. And my name was birthed out of Genesis chapter 2, verse 42, talking about woman. I found myself in the second chapter of Genesis 2:52. Genesis chapter 2, verse 52 talked about Aisha and I am woman. That's just me. So meet me back here, right here on the Aisha I Am Woman show, where needed conversations happen. I am your host, Aisha, and I will see you next week. Good night.